welcome to our meditation time. I would invite you to settle in wherever you are in your space. If it's a familiar space, just come into that familiar spot. Just feel the way that the body just adjusts almost instantly. If it's a new spot for you, just kind of take everything in, see what's around you, and then gently close your eyes and let it become a familiar space today. So whatever it is that's brought you to this spot where you are tonight, whatever the day has had, let's make these few moments that we have together about resetting, finding a way to come to this present moment. Even if it was a wonderful, joy-filled day, chances are we all had moments where we ruminated on the past or we worried about the future. And so for these minutes that we have, let's just focus on the present moment until eventually this way of being becomes our default. So many of us, our default is really focusing on the past. And then there's others, their default is just worrying about the future. But those are choices, just like our choice to be present. So let's start off with just some slow, steady breaths in and out. And each of us finding a good, nourishing, nurturing rhythm of breath. And just notice as you breathe in, how empowered you feel for just that second as the breath comes in. And then notice as you breathe out, how released you feel. And just maintain that rhythm throughout these few minutes that we have. And I want to direct our time and really focus these few minutes on the thing that's coming on our calendar tomorrow. It is the most special, unique day of all 365 days that we have. It is the summer solstice, which means that when we wake up tomorrow and that sun rises in the sky, it will stay light for more hours, more minutes, more seconds than any other day of the year. For those of us who live in the South, that also means we'll have heat for more parts of the day. But let's just focus in this time that we have now, and maybe tomorrow as well, on the power of the light. Because what we know about this incredible day is that there's a complement to it. Right at 6 months later in the month of December, we have the shortest day, the day with the least amount of light and the most amount of darkness. And so I want us just to think about in these few minutes that we have, both of those things are represented within each of us. We have phases of life where they are filled with light. You become a new parent. You have a new job. You find a new partner to spend your life with. You move to a new place. There are all these events that come in our life that we associate with light. They bring a smile to our face. They fill our heart. But there are also phases of our life that are darker. We all experience loss. We all go through disappointments. We all have people in our life who hurt us. We have things in our world that cause us sadness and pain. And so what we need to learn to do is live in the middle. I want to celebrate tomorrow. I want to just bask in the amazingness of the light. But I also want to remember that 6 months later, I will have a day where there's not as much light. And I want to just be in as much wonder and amazement then. And what I've learned through my practice, through my time in meditation, time on my mat, is that it is possible to live in the middle. It doesn't make our times of light any less lit, any less happy, any less joyful. But I will tell you, it does make the times of darkness less hard to come out of. We still experience sadness. We still experience loss and disappointment. But what we find over the years of this practice is that when we learn to live in the middle, the light is just as sweet, but the darkness is not as paralyzing as it has been before. And so let's just sit together for these few minutes, each of us in our space, and just picture in your mind the side of light of what it's going to look like tomorrow when the big Texas sun where we are is up in the sky and the day is hot and warm. And you'll look outside come evening time and you'll expect to see the sun going down and it'll still be bright. The birds will still be singing. The warmth will still be in the air. And then all of a sudden the sun will go down. And the next day, the light will be just a little bit less, preparing us gradually for that day that's coming in December. And so again, let's just each sit in our space and allow ourselves to be in the middle of the two, the light and the dark. And as you picture those two things in your mind's eye, continue to breathe right in the middle and see what you notice. And as you have this gentle visual in your mind of the day of light sitting right next to the day with more darkness, let's each just be grateful for the fact that it's a gradual shift between the two. We don't just go from the summer solstice to the winter solstice in the next day, but nature has a way of teaching us to just go through the journey. And then we'll come back together in December on that day of such little light and all that darkness. And we'll remember that the journey continues and we're headed back toward light. And through it all, we continue to practice living right in the middle. So one more analogy I'd like for us each just to have tomorrow as the summer solstice makes its way into nature across this part of the globe where we live. Is there's a special quality to the heat of the sun. We especially feel that in places like Texas here in the South where so many of us live. We feel the heat. And sometimes it doesn't feel so great. But I would encourage you tomorrow that when you experience the heat, whether it's going from the car to the house to the office, or maybe like me, you'll be practicing yoga outside just to feel the heat and the light of the sun. I would encourage you to think about the refining nature of fire. I love the analogy of the farmer who just keeps planting and planting and planting the same thing in his fields year after year. And at first, the harvest is so good. But then he notices after a while it's not quite as sweet, it's not quite as hearty, it's not quite as productive. And he realizes he's got to make a sacrifice if he really wants to experience growth the way that he does. And so he uses the refining nature of fire, and he sets fire to that field. And he sacrifices a year of harvest, knowing that the fire is going to burn off the stuff that doesn't belong there anymore, so that the next year when he plants, once again, growth will come, and it will be vibrant and hearty and sweet. So tomorrow, as you experience the summer solstice, first thing is, remember, bask in the light, but live in the middle. But then as you feel the heat of that sun for all those hours tomorrow, just ask yourself, in my life, where do I need the refining nature of the heat of the fire? Where do I need to let things kind of burn up a bit so that I can experience growth the way that I deserve and the way that I was meant to? So many ways we can see the summer solstice. Across the globe tomorrow, millions and millions of yoga practitioners also see it as the International Day of Yoga, a day of community, a day of practice across this globe. And so wherever you find yourself tomorrow, whether it's on your mat or, like I said, walking from the car to the office in the heat, or standing out on your back patio expecting the sun to go down and just watching as it lingers a little longer, whatever it looks like for you, just practice living in the middle between the dark and the light, and being open to the refining nature of the heat and the fire. And let that be the way that we honor what this day in nature means for each and every one of us. Namaste.